Some UV impacts the top of your skin and the other UV penetrates much deeper. How's it going, everyone? If you're watching this video, you probably have hell's itch, devil's itch, or some sort of severe reaction to a sunburn. I've had devil's itch 3 times myself. I'm just getting over it. It's about a week since. So if you're going through this, I know exactly what you feel like. You probably want to run through a glass window. You're having manic episodes. That said, first and foremost, let's get into the relief. I've tried all the little things that they say, the bubble baths, all of that BS. I'm gonna tell you what works and what doesn't for me. Everyone is different, but this is what works, no BS. First and foremost, you want some sort of antihistamine. Benadryl is the most common. This is store brand Walgreens. It's gonna be about $4. Again, antihistamine. This in particular is 25 milligrams per tablet. I took 2. Again, I'm not a doctor. This is not professional advice, medical advice by any means. I'm just telling you what worked. Next, you want an NSAID, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. That's going to be your Advil, ibuprofen, Aleve might also work, or perhaps even Tylenol. I happen to have all 3 sitting around. This Advil, which is ibuprofen, again, you could buy store brand. It makes no difference. You're just paying a little more for the label. But for these ibuprofen tablets, it's 200 milligrams. I would take 2 to 3, depending on how bad it was, and I would take them every couple of hours. Again, make sure to read the instructions. And more importantly, if these have been sitting around for a couple years, check your expiration date. If they are expired, they may not work properly. Effectively, this is an anti-inflammatory, pain reducer, fever reducer. If you want even quicker response, you can do the capsules, the gel ones that are supposed to be quick release. But if you have these sitting around, this is the way to go. So again, if you're watching this, you're probably going crazy. It's hard to think clear and rational. You go and get these, you get some of these, you say, okay, what's next? The next thing is that even if you do take these, it's going to take about 30 minutes to an hour and a half for them to kick in. You are still going to be in that crazy manic stage. Next thing, have plenty of water. This antihistamine is going to make you dry and thirsty, dry, cotton mouth, things like that is going to be one of the common side effects. After taking this, now we're awaiting relief, right? We need something to help us. The first 2 times I've gotten on the front, the last 3rd time I got it on my back. So let me show you how I got relief. Meanwhile, this was taking its time to kick in. I just got done with laundry today, but let me show you. You have your towels and they're a little scratchier, right? The cotton is a little stiffer than your bed sheets. So a towel like this, in my case, I have this ribbed one, which I like even more. Here's what I did for my most recent devil's itch that was on my back while I was waiting about an hour and a half for the drugs to kick in. Because it was on my back, it was hard to find relief. So what I was doing is, of course, I was shirtless and I was just rocking like this, back and forth, putting pressure on my back. And occasionally I was doing these twists like this. Your abs are definitely going to be tired. So if you can alternate between this method or this general rocking motion, what it's doing is providing some relief. Yes, most of the professionals say don't scratch, don't touch it, let it be. I'm not a professional, I don't give a crap, I want relief. This helped me, believe it or not, between that 30 to hour-ish mark where I was waiting for the drugs to take their effect. So again, if this is happening on your back, this is a decent remedy to fill that gap, or you can even lay on your stomach and do some sort of crawling motion, but that should help a little bit. So again, this is more for temporary relief. I think this is better than scratching with your fingernails. It causes less damage to your skin, but this should provide that relief in comparison to that crazy mentality you currently have where you want to run through a window or something like that. Again, quick recap, antihistamines, some sort of Benadryl or allergy relief, some sort of NSAID, ibuprofen, or things like that that could reduce your pain and reduce the inflammation. Now that we got through the essentials, which is most important, by all means, take care of that, go do it. I don't want to see you guys in pain. It is terrible. I do not wish it on my worst enemy. Next, I'm going to share the symptoms, what didn't work for me, my 3 experiences, and lastly, the research I've conducted. What didn't work for me? Aloe vera did not work. It's a crazy pain that you have, so aloe vera might moisturize the skin, but it's not going to alleviate it in any way whatsoever. Next, lotion. This is CeraVe, which is one of the better lotions that you can find. It doesn't have any of the scents and things like that. And even this, again, what it might do is moisturize your skin just a bit, but it's not going to alleviate it in any way whatsoever. Cold showers or hot showers both do not work. Showers in general are going to be very, very short-term relief. And even in the shower, you're going crazy. So you want to get on the floor and just curl in a ball, and you want to just not exist. The worst part about showers, especially with hot water, is that you're stripping all of the oil off of your skin, so your skin's going to be even more dry and even more irritated. One thing I did notice in the shower this most recent time is that I was touching my back, super dry to the touch, And then I touched my thigh, which felt a lot more moisturized, which means that my skin on my legs was producing a lot more oil in comparison to my back, which probably had lack of oil and lubrication. I've seen the mention of peppermint oil or even menthol, which is supposed to numb the back a bit. Again, this is a bigger issue than just topical, so I don't know if that's going to work too well. And I've seen oatmeal baths as well. I haven't taken any baths personally. I'm taking a shower because I don't want to lay down. The last thing I'm thinking about is relaxing. You just can't relax in that mindset. And lastly, I have not tested this. This is hydrocortisone cream. It's a topical steroid ointment that is prescribed over the counter if you go to your local pharmacy or Walgreens, things like that. It might provide some temporary relief, so if those of you have experience using it that's positive, feel free to share it in the comments below. What separates hell's itch, devil's itch from a bad sunburn? If you feel like throwing a newborn baby off a 10-story building, if you feel like running through a glass window, if you feel like a crackhead and you think you're going crazy and you're just tensing up with rage and you're thinking destruction and negative thoughts, you probably have hell's itch. Things I would recommend if you're starting to get these symptoms or experiencing it: isolate yourself from people. You're going to be very rude. That's an understatement. And people can't really understand what you're going through. So you're going to have some sort of hatred towards them when it's no fault of their own. They're trying to help you, but they don't know how severe it is. If you can, this is probably going to last 24 to 48 hours. Call out of work if you can, cancel school or other arrangements that are not requirements. It's going to help tremendously in the recovery process, and you don't want to be around people when you're this aggravated. If you're currently at work experiencing this or you can't call out, that's the first time I got it. I was 19 years old. I was doing shopping carts at Costco in San Diego. The way devil's itch works is it slowly starts to be these little itches on your back. People say fire ants, sure. Things crawling on your skin, sure. Maybe a mixture of a little feather touching your back as well. It slowly builds up and then it just hits you like a train. And next thing you know, you feel like a crackhead that you just can't think clearly. So what I did the first time is I was at work in the middle of my shift. Costco has a gas station, so I went. I got the first aid kit. What's the first thing I did? I found burn cream because I had a sunburn. I didn't know what devil's itch was at the time. I put this burn cream and there was also a little ointment in the first aid kit. I put those both on my chest where I was burnt. Instantly went into rage and chaos. I thought I was gonna punch a hole through the tile, and it was one of the worst episodes. My skin instantly got goosebumps. I still got goosebumps now, just saying that, but horrible experience. At the time, I didn't even know to take any of this. Maybe I took some Advil that was in the first aid kit, which is the 2-tablet one, and that provided some relief, but everything else did not work. The burn spray, the ointment, it made it worse. So my first experience was at work, absolutely atrocious. I thought I was going insane, didn't know what it was. The very obvious, stay out of the sun. Don't cause more damage than you already have. In this most recent time, and about average, it takes about 48 hours to kick in. For reference, I went to the beach Monday, Malibu, gorgeous day. Laid out, I put sunblock on my front. I usually don't lay on my back, so I don't put sunblock on the back. But sure enough, I laid on my back for about 15 minutes tops. Damage was already done. About 2 days later on Wednesday, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., I start getting these little itches. I'm driving in my car, so there's pressure between the seat and my back, and I just get these little annoying itches. And because I've experienced already, I already kind of had a sign. It might be devil's itch creeping in. Anyway, drive home. I get home, I come in. Immediately after getting home, I start getting this medium itch. I already know it's coming. I'm already feeling it. I go straight to Walgreens. I buy this. By the time I'm getting there, I'm already going a little crazy. So obviously you're in public. Be polite. People don't know where you're going through. Try to be respectful. It's no fault of their own. Immediately took 2 in the parking lot. I didn't want to play any games. I got home. By then, I was starting to go a little more crazy. I probably paced back and forth in my entire house maybe 60 to 70 times. By that point, I was already going crazy. So what I did, I jumped into the shower, hot shower. I know you're not supposed to do it. It provided some relief. Towards the end, getting out was one of the worst experiences. You get the tightest contractions, which is, I'll go into it later, which is the histamine kicking in. But you go into these deep, deep contractions and you are going full mode crazy by then. That was the hardest part. I dried myself off. Back was super dry. By this point, I paced back and forth another 30 times around the house, and I probably put like 10 pumps of this on my back and I was just rubbing it. It was not doing much relief, but at the very least, my brain just needed something to occupy itself. I then proceeded to do that towel method where I laid it out and I was just rolling back and forth, doing that little swimming motion. It provided a ton of relief. Obviously, the antihistamines had not kicked in yet, but it was at the very least providing temporary relief. So I did that until the antihistamines kicked in. And when it kicks in, you're just gonna feel super drowsy. I prefer the drowsy. If you want non-drowsy, by all means. I want to be knocked out and sleeping if possible to fast forward the time. For reference, I took the antihistamines around 5 p.m. They didn't start kicking in until about 6:15 p.m., an hour 15 later. Immediately you want to knock out. I slept for around 4 hours. I probably woke up at around 10, 11 o'clock at night, and the pain starts coming back. It's a pretty bad itch. The itch came back full force. I was doing the towel thing again. I was going pretty crazy. It was late at night, so you can't yell, obviously. I took another 2 antihistamines. I believe at this point I took 3 Advils, so that's around 600 milligrams. And again, it took a little while. I was doing the towel thing again late at night, and then eventually they did kick in again. I knocked out. I probably didn't wake up until the next day around 8 in the morning. And again, in the morning, it started back up again. So again, took 2 more and then about 2 more Advils. And that was about the last time I took it. However, I was still drowsy, still tired. And all in all, for this most recent experience, it took about 24 hours for the main symptoms to go away, which is the overreaction, your body going crazy. After those 24 hours, around Thursday, I still had these random little areas of my back that would itch, but it wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't the whole back going crazy. So that's a bit of my experience. The first time I was the least prepared, completely oblivious. The second time I was a little more prepared, but I did also put a lot of things that irritated my skin. Eventually I did get the allergy relief because I found some YouTube videos that led me to that, and that was a lot more helpful than the first time. And this most recent time, I think I was the most prepared of them all. Of course, at its inception, it feels absolutely atrocious. Would not wish it to the worst person in the world. In terms of research, I went into several topics. Again, if you look up hell's itch, devil's itch, there's not much explanation for it, so I'm going to describe it the best I can to you. Starting off here, this is one of the possible conditions, which is called polymorphous light eruption, and this is basically light sensitivity. There's then another thing called solar urticaria, which is a bit more of a severe reaction. This has to do with the way your skin synthesizes the light and causes an allergic reaction, and your body doesn't know how to handle it, so your immune system is defending itself. And then, of course, we have sun allergies. As a resource, if you do want to learn more, I will be linking these all in the description below. Looking closer at this image from the video provided by Mayo Clinic here, I'm going to describe as best I can what's probably happening, is you have the sun that's hitting your skin. A lot of us that haven't been in the sun for a long time, especially, myself included, this can be extremely severe for a lot of us that maybe are lighter skin or we haven't had a lot of UV exposure on our skin for quite a long time. For example, if we work indoors or we don't go out in the sun often. Wearing no sunblock, like in my situation this most recent time, only made it worse. The UV index plays a huge factor, not only the temperature. What the UV index does is it tells us how intense are those UV rays going to be when we're outside in the sun. And for us to say it's 70 degrees outside, it's perfectly fine to go out, the UV index plays a much larger factor than the temperature. Perfect example, the first time I got devil's itch, it was absolute overcast in San Diego. It was about 68 degrees. The sun was not out and I thought I was in the clear, but little did I know, the next day, absolute nightmare. So here's my understanding and theory of what's happening. You have the UV light, which is damaging your skin. Some UV impacts the top of your skin and the other UV penetrates much deeper. What then happens is if there's enough damage, your skin is going to be burnt, and this is going to cause dryness, redness, and your body is going to want to repair it. But in addition, in your skin, you have nerve endings, right? Which is why we're very sensitive and we can feel things. Those nerves in your skin become damaged because of the UV intensity beating them up. So now in our skin, we have damaged nerves, and you can see these little blood vessels, these capillaries, they run up almost to the surface of your skin. So now with these damaged nerve endings, we have inflammation. So what that's going to do, it's going to alert our body. Let me describe this whole theory as best I can. Your skin gets hit by the sun's UV rays on the top, and even more important, deeper into the skin. In your skin, as we know, we have nerve endings that let us feel. And what happens is those nerve endings become damaged along with the top layer of your skin. When your nerve endings and skin become damaged, as with anything else, your body wants to repair it. Here's where I think you get the differentiator between a regular sunburn and hell's itch. With hell's itch, you have damage to your nerve endings, your skin, but what your body starts doing is it starts releasing histamine. Histamine is what makes us itch. It gives us that allergic reaction feeling, and it's telling the body, hey, there is a threat here, go fix it ASAP. What we know from histamine is that it's stored in mast cells, which are types of white blood cells. Conveniently enough, these mast cells just so happen to be especially located under your skin, next to your blood vessels, and in nerves. What's being damaged when the sun's UV rays hit us? Our skin and our nerves. In addition, what histamine is doing is that when it's released, what we have occurring is vasodilation. So we have more blood going into the area. Because there's more blood going into the area, it's putting more pressure on that damaged skin. That can be causing a positive feedback loop, which therefore puts pressure on the nerves, and it tells the brain that there's something going on there. Again, I don't want to dive too much into this, but I looked up H1 receptors, and potentially what that could be doing is it's telling the brain that there's a lot of damage there and it needs to be fixed immediately. In addition, with the histamine being released, is that it's causing inflammation and that crazy itching feeling that we're experiencing. And possibly with that H1 receptor, that can maybe be a reason why we're getting that super crazy manic episode, run through a glass door type of situation that we have going on. And again, this is all just me looking this up, trying to plug everything together to make it make sense. So I will list some of these resources down in the description below if you do want to look into it further and try to come up with your own conclusion. That said, if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I do wish you a speedy recovery. There's not much right now that can make you feel better. Maybe Benadryl and ibuprofen and a lot of water. Let me know your guys' experiences, how you've handled it, and the crazy episodes and stories you have to share. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Striker out.